welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's Monday, April 1st. You're watching News 2 on via Channel 4 and 504. I'm April Knight. Topping our stories tonight, the special election on the reapportionment initiative failed spectacularly on Saturday. The effort sought to change the way lawmakers are elected into office by creating 5 districts instead of 2. So 2 senators each for each of the 2 districts on St. Thomas and St. Croix, and 1 senator for St. John, which is its own district. So that's 9 so far, plus 6 at-large senators that everybody gets to vote for. The initiative, however, failed to garner enough voter turnout to reach the critical voter threshold. It needed a majority of all registered voters to cast a ballot, so that's roughly 25,800 out of the more than 51,000 registered voters in the territory. When polls closed on Saturday, however, the totals were at 4,676, and that's 1,852 for St. Croix, 857 for St. Thomas and St. John, plus 1,967 for early voting. Those numbers are not even close to the required turnout. It's 9% total compared with the required 50% plus 1. According to the polling judges that we spoke to on Saturday, more education on the subject could have been done. Here's more.
Listening to some people, I would hear them say that we could have waited till the next election. They needed more time, and if they had more time, then they'll do better. So I guess it's the timing and the more education. I would say listening to the people that are coming in.
People haven't come out because they don't fully understand the bill. Okay, they were misinformed or they just don't care about what's happening in the community.
I guess one of the takeaways is that either people aren't interested or people aren't taking the opportunity to utilize that right to vote, which in my mind anyway is dismaying, because I think that whether you support it or not, the relevance in your voting, it's a right. It's not just an opportunity, but it is a right to vote. So the fact that people aren't turning out, that kind of is, I think it's kind of disappointing.
Now remember, the counts are unofficial still, and actually that does not include St. John numbers, but even if all of St. John voted, and even with the mail-ins and the provisionals, it's not going to change the outcome. The special election cost the territory roughly $150,000. Well, the territory came together to commemorate Transfer Day over the weekend on the observance of the 102nd anniversary of the Danish West Indies transfer to the possession of the United States. Elected officials gave thanks to the many organizations and citizens who have aided the Virgin Islands during its recovery from the 2017 storms, but also officials implored attendees to engage in conversations for the future autonomy of the territory. Here's more.
The Virgin Islands observed the 102nd transfer of the Danish West Indies to the possession of the United States.
That day on March 31st, 1917, is not only a day of great historical significance, but also a day of great pride for many.
For over 10 years after the purchase, residents did not receive American citizenship status.
It was not until 1927, 10 years later, that residents of St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix were declared United States citizens.
Today, federal funding to the Virgin Islands is significantly less than states, and citizens residing in a territory cannot vote in presidential elections.
But we as Virgin Islanders must recognize that we have done so much, contributed so much for our present nation and for other nations.
The governor made written statements coinciding with the delegates to Congress, imploring that he wants Virgin Islanders to begin to have more meaningful conversations about the territory's political relationship with the United States of America, as well as a more rigorous and comprehensive campaign to educate the community on political status.
I've asked this Senate to take up legislation to give funding for specific education throughout the territory at all levels, so that a vote may be taken by our 175th year of emancipation, which to me is a very important day. as to what Virgin Islanders wish their status and relationship to be.
According to the United States federal government, over $1 billion of grants and loans were provided to the Virgin Islands after Hurricanes Irma and Maria. The president of the 33rd legislature implored that although there are flaws with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the territory's rapid recovery is due to its status as an American territory.
But this year, it is also a time to say thank you. Thank you to every first responder, every FEMA worker, every member of Congress that supported aid for our territory, every lineman that helped us restore our electricity. Thank you to every law enforcement officer and every National Guard soldier assigned to assist the Virgin Islands. And thank you to everyone of our fellow Americans that donated time, money, or supplies to our recovery.
For News 2, I'm Stephanie Shalana Brown.
Thank you for that, Stephanie. Now, the tradition of lowering the Danish flag and raising the American stars and stripes could not be carried out this year. The flagpoles near the Capitol building were destroyed by the 2017 hurricanes. The Danish consul stated that by next year, the flagpoles would be restored and a new symbolic structure representing the relationship between Denmark and the VI would be raised. The Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority is taking steps to address long-standing issues of delayed payments to the hurricane recovery contractors. According to HFA's Executive Director Daryl Griffith, they're implementing new directives that will not just help in making payments more prompt to repair workers, but also make prime contractors' payments to subcontractors more transparent, and that's for all new reconstruction and rehabilitation projects. The HFA is also asking prime contractors to create 1-800 hotlines for construction workers with complaints about non-payments, mistreatment, or other issues. Moving forward, Griffith said the agency is also reducing the number of layers of subcontractors, which is one of the many factors making this whole situation worse. The agency will also take steps to make sure that subcontractors pay their workers on time. Now, there are hotlines to AECOM and APTIM for such issues, and Housing Finance Authority is now asking for a weekly report of those hotline calls. The Housing Finance announcement comes in the middle of a barrage of complaints by roof repair workers that they have not been paid or did not get adequate payment for weeks and sometimes months. One of the factors we identified was the multiple layers of contractors and subcontractors, but also the fact that the FEMA home repair program is a reimbursement program, and that involves multiple inspections before money is dispersed on the federal level, and sometimes lower tier contractors don't have the money up front to pay their workers, some of whom are hired on handshake agreements. We'll keep you updated. Turning our attention to crime, police are investigating another shooting in Christiansted. On Friday, March 29th, around 4:50 a.m., police responded to reports of multiple gunshots in the Watergut area. Police found a black man shot in the ankle, and he told them he was walking in that area when somebody called his name and started shooting at him. The victim said he started running and only later discovered he was shot in the ankle. He was transported to Juan Louis Hospital. There were no suspects or vehicle descriptions given to investigators, according to police, but they are still investigating this incident. If you have any information, you can call the numbers on your screen. The Criminal Investigations Bureau at 778-2211, Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS, or you can call 911. Meanwhile, on St. Thomas, a man was arrested in connection with a kidnapping and extortion incident. On Friday, a 61-year-old woman told police that a family member, 31-year-old Patrick Webster, tried to extort money from her by forcing her into her vehicle and driving her to the bank so she could withdraw money and give it to him. The woman told police that she went with Webster out of fear and that he has assaulted her in the past and was also arrested for that incident. Webster was apprehended in that same area and charged with kidnapping for extortion, domestic violence, false imprisonment, domestic violence, attempted extortion, and disturbance of the peace. He was remanded to Bureau of Corrections with no bail. Police also didn't get to take a mugshot of Webster because he refused to cooperate while he was being booked, and that's according to police. Well, coming up next, a phone scam that is currently active in the territory, plus highlights from a recent roundtable on agriculture on St. Croix when we come back. Welcome back. You're watching News 2. The VIPD is also warning residents against another phone scam, this time involving cloned phone numbers. According to the VIPD's Economic Crime Unit, there's a surge in telephone numbers being cloned in the territory, and these phone cloning scams are being used to either request funds or even iTunes cards and even phone cards. The scammers, according to police, clone phones using a scanner to retrieve the electronic serial number and the phone's identification number from the victim's phone. This allows the scammers to clone the phone and review their contact history. They then communicate with the phone's contacts, and the modus operandi apparently is these brief conversations or texts, and that's when they ask for money, iTunes cards, or telephone cards, saying that the owners are sick or in the hospital. Police are advising everyone not to share any personal information over their phone, and here are some tips. You have to not share personal information over the phone or through text messages, even if the telephone number appears to be somebody that you know. Also, do not wire or send funds through Western Union or MoneyGram. You have to check your phone bills, according to police, to verify that no calls are being made from out of the territory. Keep your phone with you at all times. Turn off your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi when they're not in use. Clear your browsing history and cookies regularly. Use security apps to keep your phone protected. Stay away from using unfamiliar Wi-Fi access and vet any apps before installing them. Last week on St. Croix, key stakeholders in the agriculture industry met in a roundtable discussion to talk about the farming community's future and what it needs right now. Representatives from the National Department of Agriculture met with local farmers as well as AG Commissioner nominee Positive T.A. Nelson. According to the commissioner, the local farming industry has flatlined and needs to be turned around. Various divisions within the department also presented what programs are available for local Virgin Islands farmers. Here's more.
The department has been stagnant, and under my leadership, I want to see agriculture revived, rejuvenated to be the economic pillar it once was in the Virgin Islands. It has proven itself already. We have the natural resources. We have the technical resources. I believe it's just the willpower and the interest to do so, and I believe the resurgence of this interest is at play right now, and with what's happening with this aftermath, it is proven that we need to focus on agriculture. I must say this because we were absent in the discussion, in the recovery discussion, meaning food supply is absolutely necessary. We should not have food supply thinking as being imported on ships. That's not food supply. That's not self-sustenance.
So we have a number of operations that we learned after Maria that we're not targeting, like for example, the greenhouse industry, which brings a lot of food and opportunities to the territory. So we have season high tunnels. A lot of farmers have been using season high tunnels in the territories. What we're bringing is having fuel capacity storage, proper fuel capacity storage, proper pesticide and fertilizer storage. These are structures. These are buildings that we help farmers secure, increase their values in their property, help them, buy in bulk rather than in little quantities. Help with erosion, specifically in our entries.
We have the Forest Stewardship Program that provides technical assistance to the landowners by the Department of Agriculture through Lewis, who goes to the different farms, and then he does an assessment on all the natural resources in the area, and the result of that assessment and a conversation with the landowner identifying objectives and goals for the property comes, they put together a management plan. That management plan then gives the landowner the opportunity to go to different agencies such as NRCS to get funding for different practices, for example, tree planting, fire breaks, and different activities that are funded through NRCS funding.
For more information on USDA programs, you can go to www.usda.gov. Well, on Friday, we brought you a little preview of the first annual Kids Fest in the Virgin Islands. Well, that event happened on Saturday afternoon at the Havana Eudora High School on St. Thomas, and the VI youth were out in force. It was a talent competition that may yield the territory's next big star in the entertainment industry. There were different groups. There were cheerleaders, there were singing groups, solo performers, singers, rappers, and of course performances by Silento, the young artist behind the viral Whippin' Nene video, as well as the star of Lifetime's The Rap Game, Tyler Rain. The winner of the contest was a young man who went by the stage name TNB Glizzy. We brought you the highlights.
Okay. Now watch me watch me Nene. Watch me do it. Watch me kill it. Watch me Nene. Okay. Now watch me Can you do it? Oh, watch me. Oh, watch me. Watch me. Oh, watch me. Oh, okay. Watch me. Oh, watch me. Try to get my enemy. I'm gonna do this one for the team. I give thanks to all my supporters, especially my mother. My mother really without my father and come a long way. Nothing was never easy. I just want to give thanks to all the support.
This is what I'm looking for. I'm bringing a platform here with real people that can sign our VI stars and make them stars. We have stars here in the Virgin Islands. This is a single mother raising one of our young men in the Virgin Islands. We are losing them. Please give them a round of applause, man. Thank you for showing me a love.
Congratulations to all the winners and all the performers. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.
Well, happy Monday to you. I hope you enjoyed your day. The weather is okay. We are seeing a couple of extra showers around, and that's because of this front. You can hardly see it on the satellite, but just the tail end of a front that is giving us extra clouds with a shower or two popping up in spots today, tonight, and even into tomorrow. Here's a closer look, and you can see some of that moisture just kind of lingering here, bringing us those extra showers. Not a washout, not a lot of showers, just a couple popping up. So for tonight, expect to see cloudier skies, a temperature of 77 degrees. In St. John, tomorrow, some sunshine with a shower in some spots at 85 degrees. St. Thomas, same story. Could see a shower, some sunshine at 85 degrees. And in St. Croix, we'll reach 87 degrees with some sun. Now, as far as the Atlantic forecast for boaters, not bad now. Waves are 2 to 4 feet. Winds out of the east 10 to 15 knots, but we're going to see those waves increase. It's going to become pretty choppy throughout the rest of the week as a high pressure system builds to the north. So things are looking good for tomorrow. After that, though, I would not be surprised to see some advisories popping up. On the Caribbean side, waves 3 to 5 feet, winds out of the east 10 to 15 knots. And as far as the extended forecast, once that moist air kind of moves out of the way, that front gets out of the way, we will see some sunshine and fewer spotty showers. Temperatures will be pretty consistent between 85 and 84 degrees for our highs. And our lows, well, they're not budging, sitting right at 76 degrees. Have a great night.
Thank you for that. Don't go away. Gary Anthony has News 2 Sports for you when we come back.
I'm Gary Anthony, and this is News 2 Sports. St. Thomas native and 2016 Olympian Clayton Laurent Jr. took his 3-0 record to Puerto Rico this weekend with the hopes of going 4-0 after facing Jermaine Garcia. Unfortunately for Laurent, it did not work out that way as he suffered his first professional defeat in the 3rd round. The scheduled 4-round bout took place at Puerto Rico's Coliseo Zayas Montañez, and by all accounts, Laurent was ahead in points in the first couple of rounds, using a combination of jabs to the body and more jabs to the head. Laurent was the obvious aggressor. After dominating the 2nd round, Laurent moved in for the kill when Garcia landed a surprise right to the face, knocking Laurent down to the mat where he stayed for the 10 count. Bout over and the win for Garcia. Afterwards, Laurent explained his take on the fight.
It just takes one punch to change a fight. It was a great fight. He came ready to fight. I was in control. I didn't feel that I was losing the fight at all. I just have to work on my defense. That's the only thing I can say. There has to be a hole in the defense. There has to be something defensively off that the punch was able to get through and hit. It's a one-punch sport. You know, things happen. And unfortunately, I was on the short end of the stick this time. My goal is just to go back home, get some rest, recoup, go through the motions, and get back in the gym. Hopefully, Mr. DeBella gives me an opportunity to get back in the ring. I just really want to shout out everybody at home who's watching the fight. Rashini Clemens for opening up the windmill to do a live stream. Those who came over to Puerto Rico to see me fight. And just everyone at home. And thank you for the support.
From the ring to the court, the 2019 NCAA Men's Final Four is now set. And let me be the first to congratulate Bill Bulkey Sr. of Bulkey International Airways in St. Croix. He pulled me aside at an event on Saturday night and said, quote, "Michigan State is going to beat Duke on Sunday." Less than a minute left. Let's go to that game. And less than a minute left when Kenny Goings nails the 3 to put Michigan State up by 2. And with 5.2 ticks on the clock and down by 2, Duke's R.J. Barrett misses the first free throw and makes the second, which he tried to miss. But it's not enough. And Michigan State pulls the upset 68-67, and they are on their way to the Final Four. Joining the Spartans in Minneapolis are the South Regional champions, the Virginia Cavaliers, 80-75 winners over Purdue, the Midwest champion Auburn Tigers, who took down Kentucky 77-71, and the Western Regional champions, the Texas Red Raiders, who beat Gonzaga 75-69. That's it for sports. Bill, I'm coming to you for my Final Four picks. April, back to you.
Thank you for that, Gary. And Clayton, you're still our champion. We're so proud of you. And that's it for our show tonight. We're live on Facebook and YouTube on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7 p.m. and 11 p.m., as well as on Via Channel 4 and 504. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, tag us on stories you want to see on the news, send us a message on Messenger, or email us at newsdirector@tv2.vi. Thanks again for joining us on News 2. I'm April Knight. We'll see you next time.